All right, I think I just started this thing. Yeah, Jim, is this working? If you can yell, and it should start in about 10 seconds. Anybody else, if you can hear me, go ahead and chat saying hello, that this is working, and we'll be able to move on. I just realized there was one technical glitch, but I think I already fixed it. Good morning, Chelsea. Good morning, Michelle. Anybody hearing this or seeing this? Anybody? Hey, it's working. That's interesting. You don't expect things to actually work, do you? All right, so just moving into this is actually going to be a pretty quick presentation this morning. So I'm just curious if you're seeing my screen here and if it is advancing. Yeah, it looks like it should be working, right? So cool. This is our 6th live streaming event. If you are joining us via the Archdiocesan website, just to remind you that if you want to take part in the chat that's going on, one person says they can't hear or see me. Well, congratulations. That actually sounds like good news. But the rest of you, can you able to hear and see me okay? Is that working for you? You shouldn't be able to see me. You should just be able to see the screen at this point. I thought I would save you all the penance. So just to move on, if you're joining us from the group leaders page to take part in the chat, you're going to want to actually click on the video and click where it says YouTube to watch us in YouTube. Then you can access the chat function on the side there. Good morning, Zeke. Good to see you. So let's move forward. All right, real quick, just mindful of how everybody's wrapping up their year and how May is a good time of transition, just to pause for a few seconds and remind ourselves that we're always in the holy presence of God, that we are called to something great, and that our work with NCYC is really about more than ourselves, but the mission of the church to help young people and their families discover Jesus in their hearts and in their lives, and hopefully in their parishes. So let's pray real quick. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Dear God, help the technology to continue to work. Help us to be effective agents for you, to bring young people to you and your church. In all things, give us courage, strength, and peace in your name. Amen. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. The only thing I could say, Chris, to help is try restarting the browser. That might be the solution you need. Otherwise, go through a different point, like connect through the group leaders page, dbqarch.ncyc/ dbqarch.org/ncycgl, and try accessing it from there. That might work. All right. Thanks, everybody. If you all can help Chris in the chat, I'll keep moving forward. All right. So here's what we want to do today. Like I said, it's going to be pretty brief. I'm hoping to be done here by about 12. Really, it might be 12 after 10. I want to talk a little bit about our delegation and where we are right now, just so you all are aware of the big picture on that. Talk about registration for those of you who haven't finished that process yet, which is most of you. No urgency, but I just want to talk about that a little bit more. We do have some great resources that are now actually officially published, and I just did air quotes, but nobody can see me doing that. Preparation sessions, we'll talk about what that looks like and where you can find those. We also have our participant journals, which are pretty close to a final product. So I can get you to those, and we'll talk more about how those can be used. And then I want to talk about specifically partnering with parents in your parish level, what that looks like, why that's important, and what the NFCYM is doing to help us do that as well. Let's dive into this. So we are still at 1,875-ish. Since April's payments have gone out, since the invoices have gone out in April, we really haven't seen that much change. I mean, we've been 1875, 1874, but we're almost hanging out right around the same number. It's been pretty flat. The waiting list right now has one person trying to buy a spot, and I just got an email yesterday saying that one group parish wants to sell a spot. So in about 15-20 minutes, that waiting list will be 0, which is great. That means kind of people have stagnated as far as where their group sizes are. But if you do need to change your group size, the best thing to do is still let me know. And here's why. In June, I'm going to start working on assigning your group to buses and hotels. Now, those two things are very closely related. So one of our hotels, the Courtyard, for example, has room for about 110 people. I'm going to put 2 buses there. Once I have that assignment, if one of those buses goes from 55 people to 56 people, you may have outgrown that hotel. So that's how I do it. So for me to move forward in the bus and hotel assignments, which is really helpful for a lot of other reasons, It's really important to me that moving forward, you'll let me know of any group size changes as soon as possible. We can still make things happen, but the best thing to do is call me and say, if I were to add 2 more girls to this trip, what effect would that have on things? For some of you, it won't make a difference at all. It'll be easy just to add those in. For some of you, that might be one of those things that to make that change, it's going to take a lot of other changes, and it just trickles down into this big, huge mess. A lot of times I can make that work, but the best idea is before you say yes to adding anybody else from this point forward, please call me and let me know. We're going to get to a point in September where the only substitutions that can happen are within your own group, age and gender. So by September, if you have a boy drop, the only person who can fill that spot is another boy. That's kind of the general rule. Again, there could be some exceptions possible if there's room in different spaces in the hotels, but just so you know, starting in June, I'd like to be able to move forward with this, which means it's going to be a bit more difficult to do group size changes. Just let me know and we'll see what we can do. We did send out invoices in April, and all but I think 6 or 8 groups have paid those invoices. You can see whether or not we've received your check by going to the group leaders portal and clicking on the financial records, and that should all be posted there. Also, if you have young people or families from your group that have applied for financial assistance from the Archdiocese, those have also been credited to your account. So again, log into your group leader portal and just check out your financial statements, not your financial statements, but your financial records, and see all the list of charges and credits that have been applied to your account, just to make sure and double check our math and make sure everything's working there. That should be there. We Jim and I both watched a webinar from the NCYC recently, and as one of the things we're trying to do this year is to make it available for groups that want to prepay portions of their NCYC registration fee in June, might be able to gain early access to Lucas Oil Stadium on either Thursday night or Saturday night, and it would be a special wristband given just to those dioceses to get early access on either Thursday night or Saturday night. So here's my first question to you, and this might be helpful if you're a veteran of NCYC. Thursday night is the first general session. Saturday night is the closing mass. If your group were to have early access to either one of those, which do you think you would prefer having early access to? So if you don't mind jumping into the chat, if you want to weigh in on this. As you're doing that, I'm going to tell you what I think. I think my preference would be early access to Saturday, not Thursday. And it's for a couple of reasons. One is simply because it's just a crazy afternoon on Thursday anyway, and to try to rush one more thing might be too much. Second, one of the most powerful things our young people report to me is that the experience of walking in on Thursday and seeing that many people. So if we're the first ones in the building, they might not ever get a chance to see that many people. Looks like what's coming through in chat seems to be appreciating a Saturday night. Yeah, I don't know that this is going to happen, but with this kind of feedback, I know that what I'm going to ask for, if we get the chance to do it, would be Saturday night. So let me follow up with that. Good. Okay, cool. So yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too. But do y'all think that's a good idea? I mean, should we at least even fight for that, right? To get in there a little bit early on Saturday night. There would be warm-up acts going on. It would be just another way to enhance the Sunday assembly. I'm pretty sure I heard that we're supposed to be doing that somewhere, by bringing them in and helping them refocus themselves and celebrate what we've been a part of to get them more prepared. And would also be probably closer seats, front row seats for Mass, which could also be pretty cool. So excited to advocate for that. Yeehaw. All right, moving on. So registration stuff. Now this is important because Jim and I were just talking this morning that he already has 6 groups that have their forms in and have everybody registered online. This is incredible for us. We're way ahead of where we've been in the past, which is going to keep Jim happy. And if Jim's happy, then I can be happy. So if you have your forms, if you have done the registrations, send them in. Jim does have to go manually through each form to make sure they're all ready to go. And then he has his process he has to do to make that ready. And we also need to double check that with the registration stuff, because that needs to be published up online eventually to the national group. And so we have to make sure all of our data is clean. So it takes a while to process that stuff. You can imagine with 1,874 people to make sure everything's accurate for it. It just takes a bit of time. So the more time you give us, the less stress it is on us. But here's the process, just to remind you, if you haven't done this yet. Individual registration forms for adults and for teens. Everybody fills out the individual registration form, and those go to you. In addition to that, there's a youth form and there's an adult form. The youth form is specific to your group. I sent those out by email. It was a while ago. If you have any problem finding it, just please shoot me an email and ask for it again. I get that request about once every other week. So you wouldn't be the only one who misplaced an email. Don't worry about it. It's really easy for me to crank those out and send them off to you. So that one needs to be specific to your site. The adult liability waiver is very, very simple. It's just a paragraph. They put their name on it. The sign is pretty much done. We do need those to be collected from you. You take the individual registration form and you personally log into the, or you or your designee logs into the group leaders portal. Again, if you've lost your login or password for that, just shoot me an email. I'll get that out to you right away. It's pretty easy for me to do that. You log in each registration, and we're going to walk through what that process looks like coming up and some of the common mistakes people are making. You need to enter in for everybody in your group going. That's how the registration process happens. We then take that data, we use it for everything else like hotel rooms and bus assignments and all that stuff. And then we also take it and we have to upload it to the national registration as well. So that's what that information does. Once that process is done, send those forms that you've collected before, not the individual registration forms, we don't need that, but send the youth and adult liability waivers and your hotel rooming list to us. You can drop it off at the front desk if you're nearby. If there's a gathered event, or if you see somebody who's coming back to the office, just slap them in an envelope and have them to our attention. If you want to put them in a UPS bus that's going to burst into flames, it's happened before. That was USPS, I'm sorry. Anyway, however you get them to us, just get them to us so that Jim can start working on it. This is an important thing to say in May. These are absolutely due by September 1st. I mean, absolutely. So it's going to take us at least a month to do all of the detailed work that we have to go through with these forms. We need to start uploading them to the national website on September 1st. Absolutely. If your group's forms are not in by September, does that mean you can't go? No, it just means that we're going to be really, really stressed to make that work. We're going to have to do what we have to do, but do what you can. The reason this is important is because it's May, and pretty soon you're going to be summer. And in summer, it's really hard to gather your people and gather your families. This is the best opportunity to collect forms, and that time frame, that window of opportunity is getting smaller and smaller as we're getting closer and closer to summer. If you wait till after the summer, you really only have August, which is, again, a really chaotic and distracting time for families to collect those forms. So if you can get those soon, it's just going to be easier for you. If there's changes that happen between now and September, that's going to happen. We can address that, but it's better for us to get 99% of the forms in before fall than it is to wait. So work what you can. When you log into your group leader portal, you'll see this is the registration, the participant. Yeah, it's called the participant button. So when you log in, you're going to get to your group leader's homepage, and on the top right, there's a button that says participants. This is what it'll take you to. Just realizing now that I'm showing personal information from a person, so I'm just going to move on. Sorry about that, whoever that was. Yikes, that was bad planning. Who approved that? Anyway, one of the things that first things you do when you log somebody in is there's 3 fields at the top. Some people have made the mistake of thinking that this first line is the participant's full name. It is not. It's just their first legal name. So the information, the name that will be consistently used or may be used on their liability waiver and on their formal registration, that's important. It's especially important for adults where we're doing background checks using those legal names. Michelle, that makes me very happy. Thank you. Preferred last name or first name is if they go by a nickname. So James and Jim is a great example of what do they want to have printed on their lanyard for NCYC. That's what this preferred name is. If you leave it blank, we'll just fill it in with whatever's on the first name. But just to be easy for us, if it's James and he likes to be called James, just put in James in the preferred first name and then last name. What you'll see at the top of the form is a calculated field that takes the combination of these 3 responses and puts them together for you so that you can see that person's name. This is helpful for us because sometimes there's people who go by different names, and when we're doing rooming lists, we want to make sure we have the right person. So it's just really important, as best you can, to do that. We have spent some time cleaning these up. So some people will put in first name or full name, and we've gone through and cleaned up a lot of that. But if you don't mind, go through, if you've already done the registration, just look at your names and make sure that's correct, clean it up for us. That'd be great. We ask for the parent guardian email to be listed twice. If you make a mistake and it's not the same email, you should get an error message that says those emails don't match. This is important for us because we want to communicate with parents as much as we can about NCYC and other things. So this is our way to communicate with parents because we all know that parents are primary, so we're focusing on that. These are other fields that are just kind of important to keep in mind. The mobile phone number, if somebody does not have a mobile phone number, you can leave that blank, or you can put in 10 zeros, 000 for the area code, 000 for the prefix, and 0000 for the number. Participant age, participant type is actually like, are they an adult or a youth? An adult is somebody who's over 18 years old and is no longer in high school. This will be for next November. So if you have a kid who turns 18 this summer, but they're going to be a senior next year, they are still a youth. If you have somebody who's who graduated high school and is going to be 17 years old, they're still a youth. Okay, so they have to be out of high school and 18 or older to be considered an adult. Thanks for the question, Michelle. In the phone number, no dashes is probably best. I'm not sure that it matters, but yeah, I think it does. So no dashes in the phone number is perfect. Thank you for that. Again, we can clean all that stuff up if there's any problems, but just for consistency's sake, just a straight 10 digits. Gender is also important for rooming assignments, and especially if there's people like Pat or Taylor's, those kind of people who we don't know if they're male or female. That'd be great. Date of birth is important to us. So make sure that gets entered in there as accurately as possible. We use the date of birth, first and last name, to track people who participated in youth programs in the history of the Archdiocese. That's just a unique identifier for people. So make sure that's important. On the bottom, there's the adults only section. Which sounds more suspect than it really is. The only thing you really have to do is click clergy religious, and so click on this drop down menu, and you can check whether they're a priest, a deacon, a religious sister, a religious brother, or bishop, I think. So you shouldn't have to check the bishop box at all. But anyway, you cannot check valid background check or valid training. The reason for that is that we verify that internally. Once we do that here, you will see yes or no here. Okay, so on the valid background check. So when you come back in August to see how's your group doing, these should both say yes on the valid background check and valid training. Joe's going to be working on that. That's one of the things he has to do with forms. At the top is the buttons to use, and this is very simple, but just bear with me on this. Click the group homepage, takes you back to your group overview. Add a participant will create a new record. We've seen this happen a lot where people will click this and then they'll kind of move on and it's just blank. Well, now you have a blank record sitting in there ready to be used, and it might count towards how many people you have on your roster, even though there's nobody in there. So just make sure you're looking through your roster. If you have a blank record, you can either fill it in with the real information or just click the delete participant button and that one goes away. You can scroll through next and previous using these arrows, and just as a point of digital courtesy, because we have limited people who can access this database at a time, when you are done working, click the logout button, please. That allows it frees up for somebody else to come in. We've had a few problems where we've had too many people trying to get in and we can't. So hit the logout button. It also makes it easier for you when you come in the next time to access that information. Okay. Now onto the youth liability form. There's just a few things that I want to point out here. We're going to dive into this a bit more in detail. We have been able to find a workaround for the asthma and airway constricting prescription medication form. So in the past, anybody who's had asthma, according to our policy, needs to get expressed permission to carry their inhaler with them at a youth event. What we've allowed this year is for parents to initial an exemption. So they're saying, please allow my child to carry their asthma constriction asthma or airway constricting medication, airway constricting condition, whatever, okay, during NCYC. So if they have asthma, they check this. Rather than filling out another form, all they have to do is initial this. Now that's one more step. It's different this year, but it saves you a lot of work in getting those asthma forms. This is a section of the form you're going to want to read through and make sure you're aware of what's listed here. We will also be doing the same thing here and make it easy for you to access that on site. Our nurses at NCYC will also be able to access this stuff too. So that's kind of important. So here's the things to keep in mind. Before you send in the youth liability forms, just take a few minutes and check the following. Check to make sure that box in the top right, it looks like it stands apart. But that's a really important part of the form. Just make sure that's completed. It's easy to miss that part, and without that, we can't do anything with the form. Then make sure the parent's name comes first and then the participant's name comes second. So I, parent or guardian's name, grants permission for this child to go. And then make sure the language in that paragraph there is not altered in any way. They can't cross out words they don't like. They can't write different language in there. It needs to be as is, or it's not a legitimate form and the participant cannot participate. That's where one of those things where we're drawing our lines and saying that just needs to be signed in completion. There's very standard language. If there's any question about that, you can call Rich Earls in the self-insurance office, or you can call me or email me and we can connect you with him. Just again, make sure it's signed and dated. I mean, that's kind of easy, but just again, double check that. And then on the back side, a lot of people ask about what if I've got somebody who doesn't have health insurance? This is really helpful information, but it's not mandatory. So we're not going to pick a fight if anything here is left blank. It's just really nice if we need to get a hold of the doctor or if there is a medical situation to know what we can do and who we can contact. That's really for EMTs and anybody else who's responding to the medical needs of that child. So if it's blank, it's just not as easy for them to provide medical assistance. The one question that's on here I just really want to make sure one of these is picked is whether or not they're granting permission for non-prescription medication. So if a kid comes up to one of your chaperones and says, "Can I have a Tylenol? I've got a headache." This needs to be checked yes or no. If it's blank, the answer is no. Okay, so that just make sure parents are giving permission here. One of those is checked. It's yes or no. Either one is fine. Parents have a right to answer that question however they see fit. But we need that to be checked in order to help their kid with non-prescription. Again, the asthma solution is right there. Ensure that there's initials if that box is checked. If the box is not checked, you don't need initials, but it doesn't, if a parent initials it and doesn't check that box, you're fine. Doesn't matter. But then just make sure it's signed and dated. Again, you might want to read through physical limitations, anything else that you might be aware of, just to make sure, and just try to think what are some problems we might run into that we want to solve in advance. All right. Now let's talk about our preparation stuff because this is exciting. I have put the sessions guides, which is one big Word doc, up on the group leader page. I don't know how long it is, maybe 18 pages or so, but it spells out a few different ways of gathering people to form your NCYC group before NCYC. So worth looking at. The theme is called, which is the theme of NCYC, and this is focusing on the resources are focusing on discernment, which is also very much aligned to what the church is focusing on in preparation for the synod next fall on young people, the faith, and vocational discernment. So Anna Steele put these together for us and did a great job of connecting NCYC to what else is going on in the church, and that makes Archbishop pretty happy. Plan the following. So we encourage you to do one meeting with parents and chaperones, kind of to set the vision and the tone for what we're trying to do with NCYC. In addition to that meeting, 3 meetings with the young people and the chaperones. One of the things we're trying to really encourage you to think about is to start thinking about your chaperones as being small group leaders. So people who can facilitate dialogue, encourage young people to think and process their faith experiences, more than just someone who's a chaperone who's just there to keep them safe. So while we need chaperones to keep our kids safe, we also need small group leaders to help them process these faith experiences. Now that might mean you might need to do some more training to help those adults who are coming along with you to understand what a good small group leader is and what skills they might need. Not all of the adults who are going in your group may be small group leader material. And so it might be appropriate for you to designate of the adults going who are going to be the small group leaders and who are going to be their assistants or just other adults in the room. Yeah, and so Chelsea asked, "Do you have a meeting outline for a meeting with parents and chaperones?" Yep, it's in the session guide. So check that out, and not only checking that out, but also read the first few pages very carefully, because it kind of spells out the flavor of what we're going for, and it talks about the small group leader kind of concept. Again, it's good stuff, but before you get into the sessions, you're probably going to want to read through it and see what we're going with. Very important that these resources are editable, so that you can make them what you need them to be for you. For example, one of the aspects of each of the session plans is this photo booth concept, where you take pictures of the kids who are there and goofy, do different ways to kind of hit the point across, and then you can share those photos on social media, which is kind of a really cool thing. That's optional, but that's a part of this, because I think we know that kind of thing with youth buy-in, youth involvement, does help move that conversation forward. Discipleship groups are referred to in here. Discipleship groups, you can also refer to them as small groups, but this is called discipleship groups. There's time in every session for what's called D time, which is your discipleship group time to get together and actually hammer out some thinking and doing some journaling together as a group. That's kind of a focus we're going for. So take your delegation and not think of them as one big group, but how do you break them down to really enhance their ability to do faith development? We're really serious about social media this year, so there's a lot of different social media ideas in all of these session plans. I just encourage you to be as consistent as you can with that. If you want to tag DBQArch, which is the Archdiocesan account, that would be awesome. Then that can go to our communications department upstairs, and they can kind of retweets as much as they can and connect people with that. Also, it's neat to hashtag things so that other groups can be tracking what other groups are doing as well. And so our young people can get the sense right away that they're part of something bigger than just your parish group. We're going to talk about participant journals in a little bit, but the preparation resources do utilize those participant journals, and so this is a tool. If you're going to be doing the preparation sessions, you don't need to use our journals. It's so easy to just have a legal pad or something you just can write on and journal on, but it's again a way to be consistent using our participant journals. The 3 sessions for young people focus on this RIC, which is recognize, interpret, and choose. Recognize that God is calling you, interpret what God is calling you to, and then choose how you respond to that call. So that's the focus, those 3 sessions: recognize, interpret, and choose. It's the same language used in the Synod document for the Synod coming up next fall. Again, we create these sessions for you in a Word doc, so that if you don't like something, if you don't think it's going to work with your group, take it, amend it, and make it work. The idea is there as a gift to you. There's no mandate that you meet these 3 times, but we strongly feel that the more you engage young people and your adult leadership, the better you're going to be at sustaining NCYC Beyond. And the symbol that we used is this 3-dot thing, which means that it's the response on a text message that somebody's writing back to you, somebody's trying to communicate with you. And that's what we want to know about our relationship with God, that God is there always trying to communicate with us. So that's the image that we're going with, and it's consistent. You're going to see it on our t-shirt. You're going to see it in the journal. You're going to see it in the session guides. So this is the unifying image for our diocesan delegation this summer, or this year. So the journal is available. It's pretty cool, full color design. Inside the journal is stuff about social media, so our young people can be challenged, each part of NCYC, to do different social media challenges during the days of NCYC. It's pretty cool. Also, there are the session plans that we talked about. So questions from the sessions. This is a page from session 1. It's just 2 pages for each session that are in the journal. And then there's also discussion or reflection questions and the tentative schedule for NCYC for each day that we're there. So here's just, I pull up Friday, November 17th as an example. I know you can't read it probably. I can barely read it. The important thing to think about with this participant journal is these are full-size 8.5 by 11 booklets. So they're bigger than they were last year. They were half size. It's just more substantial. And I like it with the full size. Some of you who were at our youth ministry conference this past weekend got to see the template of the journal. My recommendation is that you have your group leaders hold on to them during the day in a backpack so they don't get lost or broken. Or you can just keep them at the hotel and use them in the mornings before you leave and use them at night when you get back. How you use them is totally up to you. If you do preparation sessions and you're using these journals for those, my recommendation would be that you keep them. You don't send them home with the participants. Again, just to keep them all kind of in one place makes it easier for them to go with. Now, you can download the participant journals for free. They're right up there on the website, the group leaders page. If you want to, again, they're full color. It's a PDF version of it, so it should be pretty accessible for you. If you'd like us to print those for you, the cost has gone up. We were hoping to do it for $1.50, but we think for $3 we'll be able to print them, and we're going to take a hit on the shipping, but we think we're going to start in for a $3 price for you. So that's full color. Just tell me how many you want. We'll put in a print order, get those printed and shipped out to you as soon as we can fill that order. And we'll bill your group $3 at the next billing cycle. So that's a pretty simple thing for us to do. It's really helpful in pulling together this whole picture of formation that we're doing with NCYC. This is kind of, all right. If there's any questions about the journal or the preparation sources, go ahead and chat those in. We'll get to them at the end. I want to talk about parents specifically because this is a phrase that Archbishop has been really strong about. The reason we do, fill in the blank, about any kind of youth programming at all, the reason we do religious education, sacramental preparation, NCYC, the reason we do any of that stuff is really to form and support parents in their role, not replacing them as the primary catechists of their children. Now, if you were with us on Saturday morning, you heard us talk a lot about what does that look like really to seriously be deliberate about looking at parents and families as the primary target audience of our ministry. And so I want to focus on parents, and I want to put this in your head and keep thinking about how are we engaging that family unit that Billy's a part of. We've talked about this every month. The most important day of NCYC is Monday, November 20th. That's when they come back. Who will be with them that day? So when they come back home, we are essentially pushing them off to the most important people in their lives, returning them to the custodial care of their parents and guardians who are their primary catechists. So the more we can prepare the environment that they're coming home to, the better we're going to be sustaining our long-term goal, which is to help these young people identify themselves as disciples of Jesus and strong, active Catholics. So here's some things you can think about. First, there's a webinar coming up that the NFCYM is offering on May 24th at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. That's Central Time. If you want to be a part of this, just go to this link here. I'll give you a couple seconds to write it down. Very simply, ncyc.info/webinars. You're going to see a list of past webinars. There's an awesome photo of a really cool diocesan director there who, anyway, you don't care about that. But anyway, but go to the current one or the one coming up, and there's an opportunity for you to get more information and register for the webinar. These are free. And this is going to be talking about ways that NCYC can engage parents at NCYC. So we've had some adults from our community have been invited to be a part of that. I'm not sure who has responded to that or not, but that's going to be coming up here in just a couple quick weeks. So that might be something to start at. The other thing I think is the easiest thing to do as far as engaging parents go is to have deliberately scheduled parent prayer and discussion sessions during NCYC home at your parish. With the live streaming that's going to happen with the NCYC general sessions on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night, it's a great opportunity for us to gather parents, pray together for their kids, and watch the experience that their kids are experiencing so they're prepared to come back home. This is easy. Really, the hope is that you can get a volunteer, and by volunteer I mean get your pastor, to be available on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights at 7 o'clock local time to call people together, offer goodies, beer, wine, cookies, cake, lobster, whatever you want to do, and process these parents through the opportunity to pray for their kids. One of the things that floored me in parish ministry was how often parents would say to me that this is the first time since their kids were baptized that they put hands on them and prayed for their kids. Like that's so powerful for parents to pray for their children. And not a lot of our parents have ever felt invited to do that. So here's their chance to pray for their kids by name. Now, I'm hoping to have some kind of a scheduled, here's what you can do, a template design for what that could look like. 7 o'clock, gather, have this, and talk about these themes. 7:30 to 8:30, watch the live streaming. 8:30, do a prayer session. Here's what it could look like, be done by 9. If somebody wants to put together a template, if you've done this in the past and it worked and you can share that with everyone else in the Archdiocese, please share that with me so I can share it out with them. Otherwise, if I don't hear from anybody, I'm likely to just throw some ideas together. But I think your ideas might be better because you're really competent and I just work for the Archdiocese. So that's okay. Moving on, other ideas. There are parent sessions at NCYC, so anything you can do to help parents get a chance to do that. If you have more adult chaperones than you need, maybe work on a rotation schedule so that your parents can have a time off on the day on Friday to attend a parent session, or maybe do a rotation so they can have one group of parents can have off in the morning, another group can be off in the afternoon, so that all the parents get a chance to go and mingle with other parents about parenting teenagers. It's a great opportunity while they're, again, the webinar that NCYM is going to do will probably help come up with a plan for that. That's another idea. Also, I want you to take a pause and look at the adults on your list and say, who are these adults who are just awesome? Who are really amazing, faith-filled people who we see real leadership potential, real ability to turn them into not just youth ministry assistants, but people who are going to really shape and influence your parish moving forward, and deliberately by name encourage them to take part in the impact program that's starting up next fall. So Mary Peterson, you can contact Mary. She's the director of adult faith formation. She does an amazing job with this program. We've heard consistently positive feedback about the impact program. So do me a favor, do your parishes a favor. Look at your list of adults and seriously ask, who here is called to be more active in our parish if they only had some more formation, some more encouragement, some more enrichment of their faith. They're true diamonds in the rough. Let's get them connected to the impact program and personally invite them to consider it. There's registration materials and publicity materials up on the Archdiocesan website. Just do a search when you get to the front page, just search for impact. You'll be able to get right there. Okay. So that's what I've got for you. So just to go back to some previous questions, the journals are ready now. So if I mean, we haven't printed any, but it really doesn't, it really would take about a week maybe to get a big print order through. So I'm not going to print up any of them until I get a print request. So from you, so we'll just print them to make the orders, to fill the orders we have. So if you want those, shoot me an email today and I'll get those printed up for you and out probably in a week or two. Are parent sessions live streamed? That's a great question, Allison. The parent sessions from NCYC, they are exploring more ways of engaging parents back home. I don't have an answer for you on that now, but those are the kind of things that even if you're gathering them for the general sessions, you can still encourage parents to watch those live streaming events in a non-gathered way. So if they are streamed, we will know about that by September, October, in time to encourage our parents to do that. So Michelle says, yes, they are. I'm just saying, given everything that the NFCYM has gone through, I don't want to assume anything's the same as it was in the past, but probably. Okay, are there any other questions about NCYC at this point? Again, I'll stick around for a little bit. What I'm going to do is kind of type up put this together in a report and send an email this afternoon. Again, this will be recorded here, so if you think it's worth coming back to see any of this information, especially about the getting your people registered, if there's any questions about registration, any questions at all, shoot me an email. We'll make sure they work. Again, it's for a few more minutes, seeing that there's no real more questions coming across. I think we can go ahead and call this done. This went a lot longer than I thought it was. I really thought I'd be done in 15 minutes. Yeah, I should probably stop talking. All right, hey everybody, thanks for what you're doing. Have a great day. Thanks for all you've done. I hope you have a good summer. It's important, if you can, to get some time and just quiet down and remember why you're doing this ministry to begin with. All right, well, thanks everyone, and we will see you on the other side. All right, be good. Bye-bye.